Hello and welcome back to the Formula 1 chat. It is the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix this weekend. It's the second race of the 2023 Formula 1 season, and here is our preview for it. Very exciting. Formula 1 is back, and Bahrain was sensational, but we're going to start today with a bit of news. Saudi with a few track changes. So obviously last year we saw a nasty incident for Mick Schumacher, and Saudi have seen that actually safety does need to be improved around this street circuit. So at turn 14, the wall on the right-hand side of the track has been pushed back by 7.5 metres. On the left-hand wall at turn 20 has been moved back by 5 metres. So there's just a bit more room between the drivers and the walls.
That's a lot of metres.
That is quite a distance when you think about it. And the walls have also been pushed back at turns 8 and 10 in order to improve visibility. I think it's very crucial, not only so drivers can actually see the track, but so they can see potential hazards ahead, and if there's a steward on track, you don't see a car come around the corner with no idea he's there and mow him down.
He's just around the track at a night race while cars are going past it.
Well, maybe it's like practice session. There's a bit of debris goes out. Oh, Max is
he's such an idiot. But yeah, that won't happen.
Harsh.
I think it's good. So obviously we want the safety and visibility side, but we also want the thrill, that roller coaster that Saudi is. We've seen some brilliant races over the last 2 years.
I think it's good to have a little bit of a margin for error, because if not, you're just going to have drivers involved in horrible accidents, as we saw for Mick Schumacher last season. That extra couple metres could have made a huge difference, and in fact the car might not have been written off.
He wouldn't hit the wall as hard.
No, in which case maybe he wouldn't have cost the team like £1 million fixing it. So yeah, maybe that will be better. So yeah, looking back at Bahrain, then a couple of points to discuss. Red Bull's dominance is probably the most prominent.
Pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Do you think they'll dominate Saudi once more?
No, I hope not. I really hope it was just first race feels. I think Ferrari have got more to bring, but Sainz was rubbish.
Well, I don't think this is the weekend Ferrari are going to bring it, and we will get on to obviously Leclerc when we get into our race preview. But while we're looking back at Bahrain, Red Bull just looked really quick.
They did look really quick, and it's going to take a lot to stop them.
But they didn't. The teams looked fairly close to them in qualifying,
and then got to the race.
Max went to set a really fast lap, and then it was a massive margin in the race. So whether we'll see a similar thing, I think if someone else can nick pole, then you never know what's going to happen.
But I think the gap. And say Leclerc got out for the second running Q3, he might have been getting
maybe Ferrari were less incompetent.
Yeah, and obviously I feel like the gap in the race doesn't show the pace of each car, because obviously the other, the 4 or 5, the Astons, Ferrari, Mercs are all fighting behind. That held him up. Fernando Alonso, what a drive. But yeah, Red Bull looked very, very strong, and I think they'll look very, very strong in Saudi.
Yep, fair enough. They've looked very strong. Someone who hasn't, or two teams that haven't, McLaren and Mercedes.
Sorry. Just to carry on my Red Bull point, because it's just come to my head. I think not only the Red Bull looks strong everywhere they go, but this is a circuit that we've proven since it hit the calendar 2 years ago that Max and Perez are both very quick out. Obviously, Perez took pole last year. Max
was leading
last year.
He retired, didn't he, during that Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen. Well, the year before was probably one of the greatest qualifying laps we've ever seen until he put it into the barrier at the final corner.
And the race was a bit ruined by the controversy.
Yeah. Moving on from the team dominating at the front, we'll go to McLaren and Mercedes. I think both teams with a point to prove. Who do you want to talk about first?
Talk about McLaren. We'll start at the back and then work way forwards.
Man, we did a Mercedes video on Monday, which if you haven't checked out, go have a look at that.
I think that the saving grace for McLaren is that, for Piastri, in the 15 laps he did, he made 2 moves. Yeah. Lando, yes, he had to pit about 17 times, and he was about 3 laps down. He showed pace when he was just running around.
He did, but he was on fresh compounds the entire time.
But still, he showed good pace.
I wouldn't be too confident McLaren are going to bring much this weekend.
I did see someone point out that the F1, the F3, the F2 feature race was F2 sprint, was 23 laps long. Piastri wouldn't have even finished an F2 sprint.
Wow.
Let her an and
Lando would have pitted 3 times.
And Lando would, Wasn't great for McLaren, but they've got to write it off, go back to square one, and if the car can
I don't think they need to write it off. I think they need to learn from it and change the car. I think they need to take Horner's advice.
change them in car. That's got a quote.
Exactly. No, we already said it about 900 times in that Mercedes video.
So, fair play for fans that are still here when we get to like Brazil and we're still banging on
and we just,
change it.
you gotta change it. It's gonna be brilliant.
But yeah, McLaren have got to change something. But if the
fucking car,
if the car. I mean, I think there's a load of problems as well. But we'll cover it in a separate video. You know, with the team principal, I don't think he's good enough. But there's a lot of questions over McLaren. But if the car can last a whole race, I'll say that again. But if the car can last a whole race, then I think they can finish. You know, not
great point, well made.
No, not. I was going to say points, and then I realised how ridiculous that is. But I think maybe low teens.
So do you think on pace right now that the McLaren is slower than the Williams?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Williams look speedy.
No, they do not.
Yeah, they do. Williams.
They finished in 10th and 13th, right?
10th and 12th. Don't disrespect my boy.
There was no McLarens anywhere to be seen. They were pissing about the back. Ocon took 50 years in penalties.
No far, is it?
Well, who else was there? So that's already 3 cars. Then you've got the 2 Houses.
Okay.
There's another DNF.
For me...
Oh, Charles Leclerc. So 6 drivers there. So because I don't count the Haas as cars in that first race.
I know we're only had one race, but I'm looking at I go AlphaTauri, Haas...
And Alfa Romeo, obviously.
AlphaTauri, Haas. Then I would say McLaren, Williams, Alfa.
What? You are waffling, mate. There's no way that Williams car is quicker than the McLaren car.
Well, it will be in the McLaren can't last more than 10 laps.
If that's not quicker.
It will be. It will be, because it will go further.
All right, fair enough. But,
McLaren
with the
got
points
a lot to work on. Serve Mercedes.
Yeah.
Woeful racing.
We saw how they mentioned radical change. I don't think we're going to see anything too radical going into this weekend.
Toys out the pram.
Has he?
Yeah, he's moaning about the car, weren't he?
They're all moaning about the car.
And Lewis Hamilton's never done that.
No. Usually he's supportive of the team
at
every
opportunity. Left, right, and centre to different personnel amongst the team. They need to come back with a big swing in Saudi.
Yeah, and
a lot of people have got their necks on the line.
Yeah, especially with Charles Leclerc not up there.
Yeah.
They've got to get some big points.
I mean, they qualified below him. They've had a shot at.
Genuinely,
they'll find a way.
Like 15th, but yeah, and then finally, before we get into this weekend's Grand Prix, Aston Martin. Do you think their pace will carry over? Because they were stunning in Bahrain, weren't they? They both looked really good. Not only Alonso cutting through the grid, making some fantastic overtakes, but also Lance Stroll, who we know was driving with a broken hand, yet he pulled off what was a fantastic result. Do you think the pace will carry over?
I mean, previous years, Alonso... I think even if Stroll's pace doesn't carry over, Alonso's will. I think over 2 years, Alonso's looked really good at Saudi.
Has he?
I mean, I remember his battle with Ocon, it was really, really strong.
Well, I was going to look back at last year where he almost got lapped by Esteban Ocon.
Did he?
Yeah, Ocon finished 3rd or 4th.
I thought he was 4th.
No, that was the year before, sorry. I think 2021.
I thought last year he was 4th.
Because Ocon was up there, wasn't he? Do you remember, that was the whole controversy.
I got things by Bottas on the line, didn't he? Ocon finished 4th in 2020.
Yeah.
And I thought Alonso finished 4th in 2021.
No. You're in the past. Saudi wasn't around 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, the country was
21, but Ocon was 4th.
Yeah.
I thought Alonso
and he almost
was 4th
lapped his
last
teammate,
year.
Fernando Alonso.
I thought 22, Alonso was in 4th. But I don't know. But yeah, I think Aston looked very quick. They'll be right up there.
Yeah, fair enough. And then this weekend, then Saudi Arabia, what do we expect to see? Last year's race we've already looked at, so how will this year's race pan?
I'm expecting more of the same from the last 2 years. A lot of action, a lot of
I haven't really looked back at last year's race. I just realised that we looked at last week's race.
A lot of incidents.
But yeah, we expect controversy, don't we? Look at Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
I expect a good race. It'll be an exciting race.
No, but every single race seems to come with some controversy.
Yeah, true. It was an absolute thrill in 2021 2022.
Yeah.
2021 was a bit over the top. We don't need that much.
No.
Everyone's cutting corners.
I don't think we'll have anyone that
looking
close.
at count back and then they're crashing into each other because they're worried about who wants DRS.
I think the midfield fight could get really ugly. Like, the walls are tight and you're scrapping over the points. We expect there to only be 2 points places available when you factor in Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari and Aston.
We saw last year how Ocon and Alonso squabbled in Saudi. Could we see the same for Ocon and Gasly? I mean, it's hard to say because
Possibly.
in Bahrain they weren't near each other on the track. They were nowhere near each other.
Yeah.
But
well, obviously Ocon was taking all his penalties and Gasly was flying, to be fair. He qualified really low, but he cut through the grid really nice.
Ways. They never actually passed each other. I think if McLaren are in there, maybe Lando... I don't think McLaren would... I think McLaren would get hit. They wouldn't do the hitting.
I could see the McLaren getting feisty.
Really? You think Lando and...
Lando's got a lot to prove.
Yeah, but I don't think Piastri's that bothered.
Via's also got a lot to prove.
He has.
Piastri's a Formula 2 world champion.
They can prove it together.
Can they, though?
Yes.
Because Lando's going to be thinking, I have to outperform Piastri if not my credibility's on the line here. And Piastri's going to be thinking, I have to prove myself against a teammate of this calibre.
They can both succeed together. Okay. I don't think any of them will because the car looks crap, but they can try.
Fighting for 19th place or 10th.
Midfield battle could be very strong.
I think we could get a little nasty.
It could be tough for the rookies. I think but equally Sargent and Piastri have driven it. De Vries could struggle, maybe new circuit, very hard to adjust.
He's the only one who's never driven it before.
But he was driven Formula E.
So Bear drove around the back last year in Aston Martin, so he remembers this race.
There's one sport that gets you used to being next to walls. It's Formula E, and he is a Formula E world champion.
Well, and also we saw how he loved street races.
Yeah,
I think back to Diriyah. He always dominated at Diriyah, which is in Saudi. Maybe Nick de Vries is going to win.
No.
Why do you exceed our predictions?
God, there we go. But he could struggle. But I think Sargent got a podium last year in Formula 2. Piastri,
he did.
Obviously, he waltzed.
But Sargent washed.
Right. Piastri waltzed every single race in Formula 2 in 2021. So I don't really take into account how well he did at certain tracks because he won them all.
But he pretty much did. But Leclerc then, 10th place, engine penalty. This is...
just laughable, isn't it?
It's Ferrari written all over. So obviously they changed their control electronics heading into the race. Then they put a new one in. That then exploded, meaning they've already used their 2 allocated CEs per season, meaning they now have to take a 10-place grid penalty. Not ideal at all, is it?
No, very much
not. No points scored last week. Now he's going to have to fight from deep to get points.
It's very Ferrari. We haven't even got into the second race weekend of the season. And he's already had a DNF and he's had to take a grid penalty for the next race.
I think only Ferrari could do this.
Yeah, genuinely.
No other team
shocking.
Could do it.
It is unbelievable.
2 control electronics failed. But it does mean he will be starting 10 places back. You'd expect him to be in around 13th, 14th.
Yeah.
I think he could get caught up in that midfield squabble. Especially since, usually when drivers are cutting through, the drivers ahead of them go, all right, fair enough, we'll let you past. But...
they're already into winning it.
But, exactly. Why would a driver fighting for 10th or 11th...
through.
Oh, 10th or 11th, 12th, they're not letting Charles through. No. They're going to throw everything they can to try and get in the points.
Alex Albon, defensive master.
So it actually makes more sense for them to try and fight Charles.
Yeah. Which could be a problem for Ferrari.
Indeed.
And I think my problem with Sainz is I don't think he's good enough to spearhead the team, to lead the team. If Charles will keep blowing up and being down the order.
I don't know. I think Carlos is a very capable driver.
He is.
I think he's a very capable driver.
Is he top quality?
Here's an interesting question.
Maybe
is
not.
Carlos Sainz, or has he got a higher ceiling than Checo Perez? So you imagine this is peak Perez right now.
Yeah.
Will Carlos get to a point that he's better than Perez?
I mean, Perez...
Or is he already better than Perez?
No. Perez is the perfect second driver because he has the different... very few drivers possess the material that Checo has.
Yeah, he's the perfect second driver.
But to be as quick as he is, but also that humble and happy to be second driver, but to also be able to be so quick, but still manage his tyres to a brilliant rate.
Yeah.
It's a very rare skill.
I still think, though, if you put, hypothetical situation, Max Verstappen's left for some reason, Carlos and Checo, same car, in that Red Bull, Carlos may outperform Checo.
Oh, but I think Checo's got a bit more balls about him.
Does he?
Yeah.
Really? You think Checo's got more balls than Carlos?
Yeah.
I disagree. Because I think Checo, as much as he's made statements saying, "Oh well, I'm not going to help Max out."
No, but that's my.
I think if he's asked to, he's going to help. Whereas I think Carlos, we saw at Silverstone, obviously, he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to ruin my own race."
I think the thing with Checo is though, Checo is Checo realises that he is slower than Max. If Checo had the same pace as Max, he would
maybe
be
if Checo was younger and had a
second.
lot more fight about him. But yeah, he probably does realise that he's not going to quite reach those heights. But yeah, so Leclerc 10th place engine penalty, he will have to start. I mean, the highest he can probably... I mean, he could get pole, in which case in a really nice spot, 11th. I think he could definitely then score good points. He might have
dodged the midfield battle.
The problem is, I think it's going to take too long for him to catch up.
But say he's 4th or 5th, he's then dropped the 14th or 15th. If it is a 10 place, it might be a 5 place.
No, it's a 10 place.
It's a 10 place, I think so. But yeah, if he's 4th or 5th, he gets dropped back to 14th, 15th. Tough to make ground from there.
It could be. It definitely could be.
It is probably one of the worst tracks to take a grid penalty at.
Well, I'd argue not, because there's a greater chance. Obviously, you can't cut through as easily. That's why people love taking penalties at Monza.
Yeah.
But there is a good chance the people in front of you are going to do stupid things,
out of your way.
and then you get those overtakes. So this is ahead of tracks like Hungary, where you're never going to take a grid penalty unless you're forced.
If you're back at Hungary, you just want to cry.
You do just want to cry. Right, on to predictions then. Saudi Arabia coming up this weekend. What are we thinking, Harry?
I think it'll be a good race.
Where
do we start?
We'll start obviously with qualifying. We're not going to run through the practice sessions. Who's going to top them? Probably Alonso. But pole position, who do you think's taking pole?
I think it's the man you just mentioned, Fernando bloody Alonso.
Really?
Yeah, he looked very, very quick, and I think he's going to want to, make a mark.
Do you think they've got that 1 lap pace?
Yeah.
To outdo
they were rapid.
the Red Bulls?
And as you said, they're probably top FP2. They're very, very good in the 60-minute sessions. I'm expecting a very good lap from Alonso.
All right, fair enough. First DNF then. Who do you think will...
Pole?
Oh yeah, sorry, completely forgotten that I actually need to do him. For pole position, I've gone for Sergio Perez. He showed his pace here last year, and I think this will be a similar race where he will do really well. So yeah, I'm expecting Sergio Perez on pole. First DNF, then going into the actual race, we've got the grids lined up already. Who do you think will lead?
We saw quite a few DNFs in Bahrain. It is still the only second race of the season, so I think there'll be a couple more. But my first one, I think, will be Esteban Ocon.
Oh, no points scored in the first round of the season after he's spent it all in the pit lane.
I think this could be a bit of a reliability issue.
Yeah.
Problem with his engine. Has to retire.
Let's watch for Alpine persist into this season then. Yeah. First DNF for me, I think it's going to be Lance Stroll. He may not have full mobility left in his hand. I don't think he wouldn't have regained it. So I think he will still be struggling. We know this is a real tough track, and in and amongst the pack, which I think he will be, I think he'll probably be involved in an incident where he might clip a wall. That's what I expect to see for Lance Stroll. If not, he'll probably score decent points. Fastest lap then. Who will take the fastest lap of the race?
But I think McLaren might go for a bit of a glory
lap. You're so
biased. And I think Lando Norris, he might be 15th, 16th, but he'll have a gap behind him. We'll just go for a lap and put in the fastest lap, and I will cheer.
It's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's a little victory that McLaren can take into Australia.
Just don't see it happening. Horrendously biased. For my first lap, I've gone for Mercedes George Russell. I think he will have the gap back. Once Charles Leclerc's got past him inevitably and Lance is out, he'll have a decent gap back to 7th or 8th position, and therefore I think he'll be able to, produce the fastest lap there. We're going to put him onto fresh tyres and go for a glory lap and get that at the end. And get a crucial point potentially for the Mercedes team. As for who will win the Grand Prix, what do you expect? Will your pole sitter,
no matter
Fernando Alonso, convert?
No matter what happens in any race weekend, I cannot disregard the pace that Max Verstappen showed us in Bahrain, and I expect that to continue. I think he'll get past Alonso off the line and then kind of just cruise from there. I'll go Max Verstappen to win the Saudi Grand Prix.
It's interesting that you say that Max will get past Alonso on the line. I think it'll be the other way around. Obviously, I've got Checo on pole. I think Max and Alonso will be probably right behind him, and I think Max will get a bad start. So he'll have a couple bad starts in his time in Formula 1. I think this will be a bad start. Alonso will get him going into turn 1, and the two of them will spend the first 10 laps scrapping away.
Be brilliant.
Going, pushing each other to the barriers, to the edge of the track. It's going to be a brilliant fight. Not over the limit. They stay within limits, but a brilliant scrap. Eventually, Max will get ahead.
Pretty
But by
yes.
this point, Checo's gone up the road.
That's interesting.
Saudi Grand Prix is his.
Because obviously Checo has struggled with his starts recently. Struggled in Bahrain to get off the line.
Yeah, that was predictable. I could have told you Checo was going to not get away there. But I think even if he has a bad start, Alonso's not going to have a good enough start to get ahead. And if Max has a horrible start,
if there's one man though, it will be Fernando Alonso.
I don't think he's got a rocket booster in
I think
his car.
he'll find one. You never know.
Okay, interesting prediction there that Alonso will find a rocket booster.
Should be a good race. It should be a thriller.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm hoping for a fun race around the Saudi circuit. I think he does usually throw up some interesting spectacles. But yes, that is all for today. If you have enjoyed, keep the conversation going in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys what you expect to see in Saudi, and also if you want to talk about Bahrain or anything else related to Formula 1, stick it in there. We'll make sure to reply, or other people in the community can get involved as well. Create a bit of a discussion in our comments section. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here. It massively helps us out. We're currently on 134 at the time of recording. It would be nice to get to 150 by the time we're recording our review on Sunday evening. So if you could make that possible, then that would be amazing. Very ambitious, but you never know. But yeah, that is all from us today. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.